time to get into our match preview for the game. We mentioned before, I mean, the form between Spurs and Liverpool coming into this game in terms of the head-to-head. Absolutely disgraceful. 1 win in the last 10.
Yeah, 10 years, not 10 games. 10 years, so like 20 games. We do not have a good record against Liverpool. To be fair, if you look at those results, they're all pretty much, there was a 1-3-1 there, but they're all either draws or they're only losses odd goal, and more often than not, that goal's in the last minute as well, especially at Anfield. So,
you know, I remember ones when Sonny's missed big chances, you know, Bergwijn misses big chances at Anfield, Sissoko, Lo Celso as well. I mean, we have missed some big chances against Liverpool where those kind of misses have really swung the tie and swung the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they've always been somewhat like close games between us and Liverpool, and especially under Pochettino, the games were very, very tight, and it was always toing and froing. Obviously, recently it's more been like Liverpool dominating and Spurs countering. And that's also led to some joy when it comes to Spurs creating chances. But things always do seem to go against us, one reason or another, against Liverpool. We do seem to miss big chances. You just have to look at the home game last season to see the chances we missed. It was actually becoming, like, near the end of the game, it was just laughable, the chances we were missing near the, in that game. We ended up only drawing 2-2, and we really should have won that game. So, look, by no means are we definitely not out of this game just because of our recent results. I just do worry. I do worry about this game, even with Liverpool's injuries, even with their poor form. I just think the injuries that we have and the way we're playing, I do worry that Liverpool are going to, especially when we have faced better teams as well this season, we have come unstuck. So if we can keep it tight against them and not concede too many good chances, then hopefully either from a set piece or from some counter-attacks we can get some chances. But I do feel like again, for example, like we did against Marseille, if we give Liverpool the amount of time and space we gave Marseille, they're going to hurt us more. And we've been very good at coming back this season. We've won more points than anyone else from losing positions. But if we press really intensely and try and suffocate Liverpool, is that going to work like it did against Marseille and maybe some other teams when we're losing? I don't know. I question that, and that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like if we play our game and sit tight and catch them on the break, it's going to be difficult because we don't have those kind of runners on the break.
That's what I'm saying. That's the way to beat them as well. But the problem is we don't have the players to play that way. So I don't see. Do
you think not maybe like even a Brian Hill maybe can come in for this game, because he's the one like he's full of running. He really is full of running, and maybe he doesn't have the quality and the physicality for the Premier League just yet. But in this one-off game, if we can, if he's the one that can break that trap, maybe it could work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally against giving him a go because I think he's a good dribbler right now. And maybe if he can get him in some one-on-one situations, maybe he can exploit Liverpool. I think Lucas at the moment is not playing too well.
The thing is with Lucas, though, he just never gets in those positions to get in behind. He's always looking for the ball to feet to dribble past someone.
Yeah, he's
never on that last shoulder like Sonny is, and just gets past that trap.
And you can argue Hill as well likes the ball to feet more than he does in behind, and that's a big problem. So I don't know how Conte combats that or what formation he goes with. I do believe we're going to go 3-5-2 just simply because of numbers. I don't see how. I don't see a front three of Gil, Lucas or Kane, or even Perisic, unless he puts Perisic in there and plays maybe Session on wing-back, which I guess is not beyond the realms of possibility. He might fancy just having, in a sense, two wing-backs, maybe to combat Liverpool a bit, and then have Perisic on the break. But I think it is more likely that he will play the three in the middle with Basuma, Benteke and Højbjerg, and try and dominate in that area, because that could be a source of strength.
Unless he goes Kane up top, Perisic on the left, and Moura on the right. He could do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he could have. I'm saying he could have Perisic there and Session on the wing back, and in a sense have two wing backs in a way, kind of be defensive, but also have that ability that Perisic can be a winger. So he could do that, but I think maybe with Liverpool's weakness this season being in their midfield, maybe we have to try and use that as a source of strength for us. And if they're gonna dominate in some areas, maybe we can use the midfield for us to be a source of strength. And have Basuma, because Basuma, Højbjerg, and Bentancur right now are our best performing players, and they're probably our strongest players. That's our strength right now in midfield. So maybe that's what we got to utilise.
Yeah, let's just hope Bentancur is fit for this game, because he was holding his hamstring as he was walking off in the last game.
Yeah, we have to see.
I'll have to wait for the press conference for that. But when you're looking at the form of the two teams coming into it, I mean, Liverpool's away form is absolutely shocking. 3 losses and 2 draws in their last 5.
So they haven't won an away game this season, have they?
I don't think they have. But when you're looking at, on the face of things, just performances and results in the last 5 games, it's not too dissimilar, the two teams. Spurs have got 3 wins and 2 losses. Liverpool have got 3 losses and 2 wins.
Yeah.
In terms of the goals scored and goals conceded, not too different either. Spurs with 7 scored and Liverpool with 5 scored, and both with 6 conceded. Do you read too much into the... Well, first of all, what do you make out of this Liverpool form? And do you think it's solely down to injuries, or is there a bit more going on there?
I think there's a bit more going on, because at the beginning of the season, they had a fully fit squad. Like as Stay commented, like against Fulham, they had a fully fit squad and they weren't great, and they didn't lose, but they got a draw and they could have easily dropped points. I think when it comes to Liverpool, I think he was being a bit... I know he said he didn't believe that Liverpool deserved 2 wins against Forest and Leeds recently. Maybe they didn't, but I think he was maybe underplaying how many chances they did create. And if you were to pick man of the matches in both those games, I personally would have given it to the goalkeepers of the opposition teams. And that tells you that maybe, as of late, the luck hasn't quite been on their side. However, they are conceding chances, definitely on the breakaway. They're making sloppy mistakes at the back. There's no getting away from that. Joe Gomez doing like a no-look pass across the face of goal, which is like being, which got tapped in the empty net. Van Dijk was really suspect for that winner as well from Somerville. Like even the Forest game, Forest had their chances on the breakaway. Alisson had to be in top form to keep the game at 1-0. So they are conceding chances. So there's definitely more going on than them just being unlucky. But they are also being a bit unlucky. Like Henderson and Meslier were unbelievable in those 2 games for me. So it wasn't just a case of they're struggling to create, but that's the problem for us, I think, because if we're not going to be able to create much, then we're still going to have to be on our A game defensively, because they're not having trouble that much creating chances. And Salah's coming a bit into form. I really like Núñez. For me, I know he's getting clowned on a bit sometimes, but I think he's really good. I think he's going to be a really good striker for Liverpool once he settles in a bit more. And Firmino's had a good start to the season as well. So there are definitely things to be worried about in this game, for sure.
Yeah, you never would have thought coming into this point of the season, Firmino would have scored more goals than Mo Salah, which is unbelievable. Credit to Firmino for the way he stepped up this season, because the kind of narrative around Firmino was that he was done and he was going to move on from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And he's come back this season and he's been their best player almost in terms of output anyway. When you're bringing up the opposition, bring up the ones to watch. You got Bobby Firmino there and Mo Salah, 6 goals, 3 assists from Firmino. Well, I mean, a lot of those have come in just in 1 or 2 games, though, haven't they?
One of them, yeah. I think he got 2 goals and 2 assists against Bournemouth, didn't he?
Yeah.
In 1 game. So already
he scored a hat-trick, didn't he, in 1 game?
He scored, I think actually might have been a hat-trick against Bournemouth. It might have been that. And then he scored against Arsenal, though. But I think, yeah, there's kind of been spread, not over that many games, to be fair.
Yeah, and if you bring up the lineup, obviously there is flaw. I mean, a lot has been made out of Trent this season about how defensively good or not good he is. Do you read too much into that?
No, I think there are genuine criticisms you can have of him. I think defensively he has been really bad this season, but I don't think it's just been him. I think the whole team have been suspects. So I think he gets lumped in as the main guy because there's a lot of focus on him. But
do you think it's like maybe the protection of the midfield is not too much there anymore?
Definitely,
as what it used to be.
Definitely, that's a factor as well. 100%. The midfield is not protecting Trent in covering the space, because we always know he's always liked to get very far forward. Trent, he's been one of the best wing backs or fullbacks in the league for a number of years with his output. So I think it's only right he gets forward a lot, because his crossing ability, you want him in those forward positions as much as possible. This season, it's interesting because it's out like his. output hasn't been. I don't think he's got many assists, but like he's still putting in really good crosses and stuff. He's still making some really good passes, but it just but when they're not making use of them, if they're not getting the goals from those crosses, all of a sudden it becomes a bit of a liability.
1 goal and 0 assists this year for Trent.
Yeah, which reads really badly, but if you actually watch him, his passing is still really good. He still creates good chances. They just haven't been exploiting them as much as they have in previous. But if he's creating like 10 chances or something and they're not scoring, he's still that defensive liability. So then all of a sudden he becomes a bit of a liability if we're not converting the chances he's creating. But the problem is with us is, do we have the players to exploit him? And without Son, you can maybe argue Perisic is there, but you could argue Trent can exploit him as much as he can exploit Trent. So it's a difficult one. Without a real player on that left-hand side for us, I don't see how I reckon we can exploit it occasionally, but I don't see how we like make it a constant source of
that might
joy.
be what you were saying before. We're playing Szczesny on left wing back and Perisic on the left behind Kane. That could be a source where we can frustrate Trent, because, you know, we'll have 2 options there. Szczesny, we know, likes to get in those spaces, and that will create maybe even more space for Perisic to get in.
Yeah, so that's definitely one thing to consider. I definitely would consider that, playing Perisic further forward, just to, and maybe it might do 2 things. It might offer us a bit more defensive solidity, and it might as well allow us to find a bit more space out wide. So it could do that. Then the problem is, the midfield, central areas, you risk getting because they got good technicians. Thiago, Fabinho, Elliott, very good technical players, and I feel like when we've come up against a bit more technical quality, that's when we get a bit more overrun. It's not necessarily when we come up against powerful runners. It's more about the technical players who can find the good progressive passes in spaces. That's what I'm worried about.
Like the problem is that in a 3-5-2, I just can't see us being able to exploit their weaknesses as much as we can in a 3-4-3.
I think with Son, I think it's a no-brainer. You go 3-5-2, but without him,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's difficult. Son's out the question because he can't play. Whatever happens. But
I know.
What I'm saying is that even without Son, I still think we can hurt them more in a 3-4-3 if you were to play Perisic and Szczesny on that left-hand side. Because if you play in a 3-5-2, then we're so focused on the middle of the park. What we're going to have 2 wing backs in probably Perisic and Emerson.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's enough to constantly hurt them, because I think the Perisic, when he goes forward, he'll leave too much holes in behind him.
I see us either way having struggled, to be honest. I think you might be right. I think we're probably going to be more of a threat in a 3-4-3. I still don't see. I still think we're going to be penned back quite badly, even in a 3-4-3, and we're still going to have to counter. We might be more lethal on the counter, but the one positive I can say is that even if we are getting penned back, if we can find some opportunities to get set pieces, then we can be a good source of goals for us. So we've shown that. We've got 9 goals already this season from set pieces, which is
get Kane
more than any other.
Backing into defenders again.
Yeah, just hold up, get corners, get set pieces. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we get like 1 or 2 goals from set pieces if we can get enough of them, because we've been very strong from set pieces this season. So even if we are struggling to create a chance from open play, it's still not the be-all and end-all, because we still have those opportunities from set pieces if we can get them. The problem is if we don't get ourselves in many situations to get them, then we can get penned back. So I think I do find it very difficult to see us winning this game from many angles. I think even though Liverpool are not playing great, I still think they're playing well enough to create chances against us, and they're still defending in a way which is going to make it difficult for us to get out, especially without that pace in behind. However, whether we go 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, if we can either get set pieces or find people like Perisic, Lucas, or even Kane in the correct spaces, then Liverpool are definitely defensively open enough to create some chances. But I just see us finding it very difficult on Sunday. I really do.
What do you make out of Mo Salah? Because obviously been one of the best players in the Premier League for a number of years now. Second half of last season, flattered to deceive a bit, didn't keep up with what he was doing in the first half of the season, which was unbelievable work. Did get, obviously, the shared golden boot last year with Sonny. this season as well, he hasn't really hit those heights. I know he's come into a form of late and got that hat-trick against Rangers and what have you. But what do you make out of Mo Salah?
I just think he's going through a bit of a dip over this season. I think we've seen it before from him.
It's been a while now, like last half of the season last year as well.
Yeah, it's true, and obviously he signed the contract in the summer and things haven't really improved. But I think it's a bit... I wouldn't put it all on him like this. I know his dip's not been going great, but I remember as well in that season when Liverpool had loads of injuries, he also wasn't great that year either. And he obviously clocked up with the goals in the end, but once Liverpool got the injuries back. But he was also going through some poor form during that season. So I don't think you can put it down to much more than a bit of poor form. He obviously, I think in the first half of last season, that might have been the best Mo Salah we've ever seen. He was that good for those few weeks, for those few months. He was unbelievable, and he has dropped off since then. But I don't think it's something that's we've seen the end of Mo Salah or anything like that. I think he'll come back into it, and I think once Liverpool become a bit more functional as a team, you'll see a better Mo Salah.
Are we seeing the Mo Salah come back now though? Because it's like 7 goals in his last 7 games.
Yeah, I think he's starting to. You're already seeing improvements. I still don't think he's as good as he was last season at times yet, but he's definitely coming back into form. And it's a bit like you saw from Kane, like for 6 months he was terrible, Harry Kane, when he just couldn't hit a barn door and he wasn't getting chances. And then once we became a more functional team, you saw a more functional Harry Kane. And I think you'll probably see something similar with Mo Salah. And I don't feel like he's not playing great, but I think you can put down a lot of players right now with Liverpool. I don't think he's the only one. So just to focus on him, I don't think would be fair on him. But you're right, he hasn't been on... Yeah, it's been a year now, nearly a year, where the form hasn't been great. But, you probably look at his goal return over that year. It's probably not... It's not... I would say it's probably not as good as he were used to, but he probably still hits okay figures, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you're talking about 4 Premier League goals this season in 12 games. Last year, obviously, he got Golden Boot with 23.
But he can go on a run of form and hit the Golden Boot again. Like you wouldn't even.
Well, I doubt it this year.
Well, okay, maybe with Haaland, but you wouldn't even be surprised if he still hits 20 goals a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be a very interesting battle this weekend at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. How do you see it going, and what's your score prediction?
I just see it being a very difficult game for us. I think with injuries right now, I think the squad's quite depleted. I think Liverpool, as much as they're not playing great, I still think Leeds, the teams who have beaten them, they've usually played at their best to get the result against them, and even then, their goalkeepers have had to be very on top of their game to get the result. So I wouldn't be blinded by some of their poor results to think that we can easily get a result on Sunday.
A lot of games though. I mean, they've only won 4 out of their games this season. They've drawn 4 and lost 4. That's 8 games that they haven't won.
And they haven't won away, and that's absolutely right. So that's not to say that they're on great form, but I wouldn't look at that poor form and think because they haven't been getting results, that it definitely means we're definitely going to get a result on Sunday. That's what I would say. I still think they're playing better than most people think, albeit they probably don't deserve to be in top 4 right now, but still they're not maybe as bad as their position states. So I still see it being a very difficult game, and I think our best chances are going to come from set pieces, but I do think we're that good at set pieces that we can get some goals from there. So I think I said 1-1. I'm going to stick with that prediction. I think we'll get a goal from a set piece, but I don't think we're going to be good enough defensively to keep a clean sheet. So I've gone for 1-1.
It's actually mad when you're looking at Liverpool in the table, right? They're 9th and we're 3rd, but yet we've only scored 3 more goals than them and they've let in 1 less goal than us. So in terms of that sense, I mean, it's not too different, and they're sitting in 9th and we're sitting in 3rd, but they do have a game in hand, let's be honest, but still a big gap. And if we can win this weekend...
That'll be massive.
If we can win this weekend, if we do win this weekend, do you think that...
it's a hammer blow.
How hard do you reckon it will be for Liverpool to finish above us?
I think it's a hammer blow if we win. It's not fatal, but it's a massive hammer blow. I know it's only early on, but when you're dropping results like they are at the moment, and you've got a 13-point gap, even with the game in hand, where right now clearly there's no guarantees they're even going to win that game in hand. I'm not sure who's against, but there's no guarantees. that makes it so difficult to get to put yourself back. Well, wouldn't necessarily say top 4 because they'll still be behind Newcastle, but to challenge that top 3, it makes it like almost out of reach. But not to say that they can't overcome it, but especially a team like Liverpool who were known for going on long stretches of wins, you know, like when backs against the wall. But 13 points, that's getting close to insurmountable. It's getting close to it.
I think like we had it a couple of years ago, didn't we, where they had a dreadful start to the season, and then they ended up getting top 4 with that Alisson header right at the end of the season.
Yeah, they clawed their way to top 4.
I mean, the gap wasn't too dissimilar to that, was it?
Not from us, maybe to top 4.
No, not to us, but I'm just saying like to where they wanted to be.
I can't remember. I remember they obviously had a terrible like first half of the season. They were losing many games, and they lost like 3. Well, they lose like 4 or 5 games in a row at Anfield or something, didn't they? And so that was really horrific. And then they got a lot of their injuries back, and they went on a late winning run late in the season. They clawed it away. So I agree, but I think that also the Premier League's a lot more competitive than it was then. You got to remember back then, Man City had the league, but like we had Mourinho, Arsenal were really struggling under Arteta. I think Chelsea just sacked Lampard and only just brought in Tuchel, so things weren't going well for them. Man United under Oli, they were okay. I guess they finished second, but no one was really convinced by them. So now it's a different playing field. And yeah, Newcastle were under Steve Bruce. It's a different playing field now. We're fully there now under Conte. Arsenal are up there with Arteta. United and Chelsea are turning it around with Potter and Ten Hag. So it's going to be a lot harder to claw it back now than it was then, for sure.
Well, it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. My brother's going 1-1. I'm going to stick with my 1-0, more with my heart than my head, but I need to see 3 points this weekend. We need to beat Liverpool for the second time in 10 years. Come on, guys.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think we've got the players that we can do it, and I think the form of the two teams coming into it, obviously we're not on great form, but we have started to pick it up a little bit of late with 2 last-minute winners. So I think Spurs players should go into this with a little bit of confidence and a little bit about them, thinking that they should and can get the job done at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Well, we've been really strong this season. There's no two ways about it. Apart from that Newcastle game, we've won every other game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So let's keep that run going. I'm going to go for 1-0 to Spurs. Like I said, my brother's going 1-1. I want to see your score predictions in the comment section below. And that is your match preview. But let's quickly get on to BetMate just before we end the match preview. There's a £1,000 pot this weekend, £5 entry. Obviously, it's a really fun to play fantasy gaming app where you can win real money. And you can get a free £5 as well if you use our promo code WATTV5. The way it works is very similar to FPL, Fantasy Premier League. The only difference is they give points for defensive action. So it's really important to have those kind of players in your team if you think they're going to be doing lots of tackles and interceptions and stuff like that. But let's get into the teams. In my team, I've gone for Hugo Lloris in goal. Seeing as I said Spurs are going to win 1-0, I had to go for Lloris in goal, to be honest. In my defence, I've gone for Ivan Perisic and Clement Longley, the 2 players that could be dangerous for us in terms of output. Obviously, Perisic, he's danger from any set piece, and that's where we're going to be most dangerous this weekend. Clement Longley have been pretty good the last couple of games, and I've gone for him in there because I think that with his ball-playing ability, he can really feed our front line, hopefully. I think it would be more of a case if Son was playing, but hey-ho. In the middle of the park, I've gone for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg as captain because he's going to have to be right at it if we're going to win this game, and I'm expecting him to have a strong game as he has done in previous weeks. I would have gone for Rodrigo Bentancur, but it remains to be seen if he's fit or not. I guess we'll have to wait for the press conference, and I might just stick him in there if he is fit. I've gone for Thiago Alcantara alongside him. He's been quite strong of late, getting quite a few interceptions and tackles in the middle of the park, and he also has got the technical ability to get some points going forward, albeit he doesn't get too many, to be honest. And up front, I've gone for Harry Kane and Mo Salah, who I think can both easily get on the score sheet. So that's my team.
I've gone for Hugo in goal just because I think he's probably going to make more saves than Alisson. With Liverpool having lots of pot shots and shots from outside the box, I see him making a few saves. Trent and Perisic in defence, both of them take a lot of set pieces. I think Perisic as well, for sure, could be getting a lot of joy from set pieces on Sunday, so I've gone for them too. In midfield, I've gone for Højbjerg and Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott's been playing in midfield a lot for Liverpool recently, and he's a good technician in there, but he also does make a few tackles, so I've gone for him, and obviously Højbjerg. If we play a 3-5-2, he could be the one who might be able to step up and get a goal for us, charging forward from midfield. So I've gone for him. And up front, I've gone for Kane and Darwin Núñez up front, because I think if we're sitting back, I actually think he's going to be the most likely to get a goal with his physicality and strength in the air or something like that, rather than someone like Salah, who we can crowd out a lot more easily. So I've gone for those two up top with Perisic captain.
All right, so that is our BetMates. You got to be in it to win it. So go download the BetMate app. Use our promo code WATTV for a free £5 for you guys. And come and take us on this weekend. It's going to be good fun. I've been really enjoying playing this game, and long may it continue. So that is our match preview. And just before, actually, we've got a message from Grandpa. He is going 2-1 to Spurs.
Big up, Grandpa. I hope he's right.
You'll get to see him on the vlog this weekend, and hopefully you'll get to see him call in a few minutes. But that is our match preview. Sim's going 1-1. I'm going 1-0 to Spurs.